Deere and Company is responding to former President Donald Trump's threat to put a 200% tariff on products.
John Deere is moving some production from Iowa to Mexico.
John Deere making a big change to where they manufacture their farming equipment.
John Deere, an American company, has announced plans to expand its manufacturing operations into Mexico, a move that has sparked controversy and concerns among farmers. The company is moving some production from Iowa to Mexico, acquiring land there to build a facility that will be operational by 2026. The facility will produce mid-frame skid steer loaders and compact track loaders. The move impacts workers in Deere, though it is unclear how many workers are affected. John Deere's decision to expand manufacturing operations into Mexico was not just a business decision, but a seismic shift for the company. The company's new direction raised eyebrows, but for Deere executives, it made perfect sense. They were positioning themselves for the future by optimizing globally and doing so unapologetically. Labor costs in Mexico are significantly lower than in the U.S., with Mexican manufacturing workers earning 70% less than their American counterparts. This wage gap is hard to ignore when trying to stay competitive in a global market filled with small and aggressive rivals like Kubota from Japan and Mahindra from India, both of which already operate with much lower production costs. The Mexican plan is part of a broader logistics strategy that aims to streamline the Deere supply chain. With U.S. ports often congested and domestic manufacturing hampered by delays and workforce shortages, a plant in Mexico allows Deere to be more agile. It brings production closer to Latin American markets, where demand for agricultural machinery is growing rapidly, particularly in Brazil and Argentina, where commercial farming is booming. This move also supports Deere's plans to scale production of mid-sized and compact tractors equipment that is currently under contract with China. John Deere, a Mexican company, has been expanding its operations into Mexico due to increasing demand among small and mid-sized farms globally. The $55 million investment is not just money spent, but also money planned with the expectation of future growth. Under Trump's leadership, Deere is expected to take jobs from other countries and bring thousands of businesses and trillions of dollars in wealth back to the U.S. When news broke about Deere's expansion into Mexico, Donald Trump took action by threatening a 200% tariff on every piece of Deere equipment manufactured outside the United States. This was a deliberate escalation aimed at drawing a line between real American companies and those he views as betraying U.S. workers. Trump's messaging here is consistent with the brand he spent nearly a decade building America first. During his first term, Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, triggering trade tensions with allies and adversaries. In 2018, he levied 25% tariffs on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods, sparking a prolonged trade war that cost the U.S. economy over 300,000 jobs and caused significant disruptions in supply chains. Despite the headlines and hard talk, the long-term benefits of these tariffs remain debatable. With Deere in his crosshairs, Trump is trying to use a familiar script, as $7 trillion has already been committed to be invested in the United States. Deere is not a faceless multinational, but an iconic American brand, deeply intertwined with farming communities that make up a huge portion of Trump's voter base. Picking this fight might feel like a reward for most of his voters, but
I say jokingly, suburban women, you should love me because I'm giving you security and I got rid of the worst regulation. See?
It risks the jobs of the very people he is trying to work for. Deere clarified that the Mexico expansion wasn't about abandoning American workers, but about securing the company's long-term position in an increasingly aggressive global market. They reminded the public that less than 5% of their total North American production would be affected by the move, and most large equipment would still be built in U.S. plants, especially those in Iowa and Illinois. Executives emphasized that they weren't going to be bullied into making short-sighted decisions due to rising costs in the U.S. supply chain, uncertainty, and mounting competition. John Deere, a global agricultural equipment company, faced competition from foreign companies and had to adapt strategically rather than politically. The company's decision to fight with a presidential frontrunner, a rural-focused candidate, was seen as a PR disaster by some media outlets. However, Bloomberg analysts described the move as pragmatic and forward-looking, pointing out that Deere's long-term revenue growth will depend more on Latin America and Asia than domestic sales alone. Wall Street did not hesitate, and Deere's stock stabilized quickly as investors sided with the logic behind the move. Technology automation is rewriting the rules of farming, and the next disruption isn't something that even Trump has the power to stop. According to a new report from Oxford Economics, robots are on track to eliminate up to 20 million manufacturing jobs by 2030. The idea that relocation equals job restoration is more nostalgia than strategy. Modern manufacturing is no longer the assembly line of the 1950s, and machines are replacing human workers operating around the clock without breaks or errors. Deere plants are already highly automated, and the average U.S. factory worker now competes with robotics that can weld paint and assemble faster and cheaper than any person. Automation is not just taking over production floors, it's transforming farms themselves. Deere has been pouring billions into tech to stay ahead, with their autonomous ADR tractor navigating fields using GPS cameras and AI software 24/7 without supervision. Drone agriculture uses aerial devices to scout fields, track crop health, and spray with pinpoint precision. Electric and hybrid tractors are also gaining traction among younger farmers who prioritize sustainability and lower fuel costs. Startups like Monarch Tractor are pushing into this space, offering sleek self-driving units that look more Silicon Valley than small-town USA. Deere knows where this is headed, and their investment in precision agriculture, AI, and electric mobility isn't optional. It's survival. Companies that fall behind will not only lose customers, but become obsolete. John Deere, a leading American manufacturer, has announced plans to relocate its manufacturing business to Mexico. This move comes after former President Trump warned the company of a 200% tariff if it moved production to Mexico. Deere has not shown any signs of backing down, and the company plans to open 2 plants in Ramos and Nuevo Leon, Mexico, set to be fully operational in 2026. This move is not a betrayal of America, but a way to achieve global competitiveness in an environment where companies are constantly trying to streamline operations. This move sets the tone for other U.S. manufacturers grappling with the increasing cost of production. However, Trump is not backing down, as all American manufacturers have been slapped with 25% tariffs on all foreign-made cars. Ford has already announced plans to shift some parts of its production to Mexico, and Elon Musk, a close confidant of President Trump, has said that the tariffs would hurt his company even if it carried out 80% of its production domestically. John Deere is facing tariffs both at home and abroad, as it is losing ground to foreign competitors. John Deere, a leading American tractor manufacturer, is facing threats from India, particularly Mahindra and Mahindra, India's largest tractor producer. This is snatching some of John Deere's customers from Latin America and the US, as well as TFE, which is also gaining recognition in the US. John Deere's shift to Mexico is a significant market for the company, as European countries offer subsidies and incentives to domestic automakers to manufacture climate-conscious vehicles. Trump's active opposition to John Deere is also posing a threat to the company.
I guess you have to say that when a quarterback wins as much as he's won, I have to go with Kansas City.
Canada and Mexico are key locations for production, as Canada is rich in minerals used in EV production. John Deere's migration to Mexico could lead to 225 job cuts, affecting American workers and communities. The company's decision to shift production abroad has made Trump supporters question his political agenda.
This plague to get out of China and go throughout the world, 188 countries.
As there is a line between corporate sabotage and imposing punitive protective policies. The layoffs at John Deere's plant in Iowa could disrupt the local economy, affecting businesses like restaurants and fashion shops. Voters who believed in President Trump's America First agenda are becoming frustrated, and the odds are against American workers and their companies. Automation will still take American workers' jobs, and automation has been proven to increase efficiency and job creation. John Deere, a leading American automaker, is considering shifting production abroad due to rising costs and unpredictable weather. This move could lead to tariffs on imported vehicles, which could cut off a significant portion of the car-buying population. Experts predict that the price of a new vehicle will increase by around $12,000, accounting for 25% tariffs on foreign-made vehicles. This increase could have cut off a significant portion of the car-buying population, making many things more expensive. President Trump's new tariffs, including a 25% import tax on foreign-made cars and auto parts, have caused a loss of faith in the U.S. as a safe haven. This move could be the start of a large movement for other manufacturers to adopt sustainable production. Companies like Kasei Agro and Kubota may reassess their strategies, potentially leading to a new agricultural machinery industry with more value chain outside the U.S. The relocation could also disrupt the supply chain, particularly in the Midwest, where farmers may experience delays in delivery and repairs. The cross-border logistics that come with this relocation could introduce new layers of vulnerability, such as customs issues, border slowdowns, and geopolitical tensions. The price fluctuations could also rob farmers of their peace of mind, and if this trend becomes normalized, who will follow suit?